what we were taught back in the late 60s to do for wildlife, plant shrub rows. You go plant shrub rows because there wasn't enough cover. You see those pine trees there? Back in 1930 when Aldo Leopold was promoting the planting of pine trees for cover, Dane County looked like a billiard table. You put your young stock out in the fields and the fence kept them in, but they ate everything right down to the ground. You put your pigs and hogs out in the fields. They ate everything right down to the ground. They gleaned everything. And anything that got big enough that you could turn into firewood, you cut down, turned into firewood or fence posts. So when Aldo Leopold was looking for a place to go hunting down by Riley, he said, let's plant some pine trees so the wildlife has some place to hide. So while the pines are nice and short, they can get in underneath them, out of the weather, out of the heat, out of the snow. Maybe you got an old tree that's got a grapevine in it. You cut the tree part way down, bend it over, the grape grows over it, more cover. The pine trees get about 15, 20 years old, they get too tall, you cut them down, you plant some more. Everybody remembers that's why we planted pine trees for wildlife, right? No, they just started planting pine trees for wildlife, so then you end up with a prairie. And it's the one piece of the farm that you couldn't farm because it was too rocky. And after all it had was 100 different kind of wildflowers on it. So you plant pines for wildlife because they're free from the DNR. And you go out and you plant shrub rows for wildlife. Well, now what we do on Arbor Day is we go out and cut down trees for wildlife. We cut down 10,000 trees throughout the marsh for wildlife. Because we have to open up the marshes so that you can get the sandhill cranes back in, so that you can get the rare birds like the bobolinks back in. Bobolinks used to be so common in this part of the country. Do you remember bobolinks?
Oh, yeah. Beautiful bird.
Remember calling them the skunk bird?
Yeah.
Because of the white stripe down the back? Emily Dickinson used to write about it. Some keep the Sabbath going to church. I keep it staying at home with a bobolink for a chorister, an orchard for a dome. Some keep the Sabbath in surplus. I just wear my wings. So instead of getting to heaven at last, I'm going all along. Robins were in poetry because, bobolinks were in poetry because they were so common. They didn't write about robins 100, 150 years ago. They wrote about bobolinks. Now they're rare. We need open grassland.